My fiancée asked me to confess before she would open the ballroom doors. Not to violence, not to an affair, to being the kind of man women had to escape. 38 people watched beneath the white flowers of our engagement dinner. My mother sat beside the untouched cake. Two company directors whispered near the windows. Our largest client had stopped pretending not to record. Camille held out a prepared statement. "Read it," she said. "Then Leah will confirm you're finally taking responsibility." My ex-wife stood near the back wall in a rain-darkened coat. I had not seen her in 6 years, not since one sentence in her divorce affidavit turned me into a warning people repeated whenever I left the room. I was afraid of what would happen if I left Nolan. She had never said she was afraid of me. She had never corrected anyone, either. Now that silence was being placed in my hand as a confession. I read the first line. "I acknowledge that my need for control has caused fear." The words were carefully built. True enough to sound honest. Vague enough to survive without proof. "If you refuse," Camille said quietly, "the board receives Leah's original statement tonight. My company employed 73 people. One public accusation could freeze our contracts before any investigation began." I uncapped the pen. "Don't sign it," Leah said. Camille turned toward her. "Think carefully about what changing your story will cost." Leah crossed the ballroom and placed a battered silver recorder over the signature line. "I have," she said. She pressed play. Camille's voice came through the speaker, calm and unmistakable. "He'll apologize. Nolan always thinks accepting blame makes him good." A second voice asked, "And if he reads the whole statement? Once he signs, no one will question who controlled the accounts." The pen slipped from my hand. Camille lunged for the recorder. I covered it with my palm. She froze. For 6 years, I had let other people decide what my silence meant. This time, Camille would have to explain hers. The recorder hissed beneath my hand. No one asked Camille to explain. Not immediately. People rarely move toward the truth when a more comfortable story was already standing in front of them. Thomas Reed, chairman of my board, rose from his table. He was 62, silver-haired, and careful with every expression that might later be described in a deposition. "Turn that off," he said. Leah pressed stop. The tiny red light disappeared. Camille drew a breath and touched the base of her throat. The gesture was delicate, almost involuntary. I had seen her use it in meetings when a client challenged one of her numbers. "She edited it," Camille said. Leah's wet coat left dark drops on the carpet. "You heard 23 seconds. I heard words taken out of context." "Which words?" Camille glanced toward Thomas instead of answering. Near the windows, our client lowered his phone but did not stop recording. My mother remained beside the cake, one hand resting against the tablecloth as though the floor had shifted under her. Thomas pointed toward the recorder. "Is that the original device?" "Yes," Leah said. "Has the file been copied?" Her hesitation lasted less than a second. "More than once." Camille gave a small laugh. "Of course it has." I lifted my hand from the recorder. Scratches crossed its metal casing, and black tape covered the battery door. Leah used to carry it everywhere. She had recorded city council hearings, late-night interviews, and the first walkthrough of the condemned theater that eventually became my company's largest restoration project. Once, it had captured our life before either of us knew we would need evidence against the other. "Why are you here?" I asked. Leah met my eyes. "Because she invited me." The answer hurt more than it should have. Camille moved closer to me, reclaiming the position at my side without touching me. "I contacted Leah because I needed someone who understood the pattern. You offered to help my brother," Leah said. A murmur passed through the tables. Camille's expression softened. "Your brother needs help. That wasn't charity." "No, it was compassion." Leah reached into her coat and removed a sealed envelope, damp along one corner. She placed it beside the recorder, but kept 2 fingers on it. Compassion doesn't usually come with a script. Thomas stepped between the tables. "What is in the envelope?" "Something Nolan should have received 6 years ago." My mother finally spoke. "From whom?" Leah looked at me rather than her. "From me." Camille picked up the prepared confession. "This is exactly what I was afraid would happen. He gets challenged, and suddenly his former wife appears with recordings and sealed letters. Does nobody find that convenient?" Several people did. I could see it in the way their attention moved from Camille to Leah and then settled on me, searching for the arrangement behind the scene. I had spent my career restoring buildings people had already decided were unsafe. Once a label went on the door, every crack became proof. Nolan, Thomas said, did you know Leah was coming? No. Have you spoken to her recently? Not in 6 years. Camille folded her arms. And we're supposed to believe she chose tonight by accident. Leah tapped the envelope once against the table. You chose tonight? The ballroom doors opened behind her. Maya Chen, our corporate attorney, entered with a hotel manager at her shoulder. Maya took in the stopped dinner, the confession in Camille's hand, and the recorder beneath mine. Nobody leaves with company documents, she said. Camille's head turned sharply. This is a private family matter. You invited 2 directors and a client. It stopped being private before dessert. Maya dismissed the manager, then asked Thomas to move the guests away from the center table. Chairs scraped. Quiet conversations started and died. No one actually left. She put on a pair of reading glasses and held out her hand to Camille. The statement. Camille surrendered it. Maya read the first page without expression. On the second, her thumb stopped halfway down. Who drafted this? I did, Camille said. Alone? Yes. Maya placed the pages flat beside the recorder. Then why does paragraph 7 assign Nolan sole authority over accounts he has never controlled? The air changed. Camille did not answer. I pulled the document closer. Paragraph 7 stated that all vendor approvals, electronic transfers, and reserve accounts had operated under my exclusive direction for the previous 18 months. It sounded administrative. Harmless. It was also false. Camille had overseen client deposits since joining the executive team 2 years earlier. Thomas knew it. Maya knew it. Every quarterly access report confirmed it. You told me this was about our relationship, I said. It is. Then why are vendor accounts in my confession? She reached for the pages. I held them in place. It was a small refusal. My palm on paper. Nothing dramatic. Camille stared at my hand as if it belonged to someone she had not prepared for. Leah slid the silver recorder toward Maya. The full file is 41 minutes, she said. What you heard happened near the end. Maya checked the display. And the beginning? Leah's fingers tightened around the damp envelope. The beginning explains why Camille needed him to sign before midnight. Thomas checked his watch. It was 11:17. Across the ballroom, Camille's phone lit up on the cake table. The notification preview showed only 7 words. Transfer scheduled authorization. Nolan Pierce. Maya reached Camille's phone before anyone else did. The screen went dark beneath her fingers. Who scheduled the transfer? Thomas asked. Camille's face had recovered its professional calm. A notification proves nothing. Nolan's name appears on every executive authorization. Not on mine, I said. Maya turned the phone face down. No one touches an account until I contact the bank. Camille stepped toward her. That is my personal phone. Then you can explain why it receives alerts from a reserve account? Behind us, 38 guests were discovering how quietly people could gather coats while pretending not to flee. My client stopped recording at last. He did not say goodbye. Thomas asked me for my building pass. The request landed harder than the accusation. Pierce Restoration had begun in a rented garage with 1 folding desk and a roof that leaked over the printer. 21 years later, the company occupied 3 floors of a converted textile mill. My name was still on the glass doors. I removed the pass from my wallet. Camille watched me hand it over. You see? She said softly. He knows stepping aside is best. An apology rose in my throat. I was sorry the dinner had become an investigation. Sorry employees might wake to rumors. Leah touched neither me nor the recorder. Nolan, she said, what exactly are you apologizing for? The question stopped me. 6 years earlier, she had asked something almost identical in our kitchen. Back then, rain had struck the windows, and Owen Bennett's name had filled 3 pages of an internal audit spread across our table. Leah's younger brother had worked in purchasing. He was charming, careless, and always one emergency away from becoming responsible. The audit showed invoices from a supplier that did not exist. $48,000 had disappeared in 11 months. I had found the final transfer at 4:13 on a Friday afternoon. So I froze every account Owen could reach. One of those accounts was shared with Leah. I did not call her first. I told myself there was no time. That was partly true. The uglier truth was that I knew she would ask me to wait, and I did not trust myself to refuse her while hearing the fear in her voice. She came home to a declined card at the pharmacy and found me at the kitchen table with the audit. "What did you do?" she asked. "I protected payroll. You froze our money. Temporarily. Without telling me?" I pushed the audit toward her as if numbers could excuse the way I had made the decision. "Owen stole from the company." She did not open the report. "You froze my account because of something my brother did." I froze every connected account, including mine. I remember the grocery bag slipping from her hand. An orange rolled beneath the table and rested against my shoe. I left it there while I explained procedures, exposure, and fiduciary responsibility. Every fact I gave her was accurate. None answered the question underneath them. Why had I decided she could not be trusted with the truth before I acted? Owen called that night. Leah took the phone into the bedroom. I stood outside the closed door and heard only pieces. "Mistake. Pay it back. Please don't tell Mom." By morning, she had packed 2 suitcases. I let her leave because stopping her would have looked like control. That was the story I told myself. The truth was less noble. I was angry that she had chosen Owen before asking whether I was all right. Silence allowed me to punish her without admitting I wanted her hurt. 3 weeks later, her attorney sent the affidavit. I was afraid of what would happen if I left Nolan. My lawyer circled the sentence in red and told me to challenge it immediately. I refused. If Leah explained the missing money, Owen could face charges. Her mother might lose the house she had borrowed against to cover his earlier debts. I believed refusing to fight made me decent. It also let Leah carry the lie without ever having to defend it. People supplied their own details. A friend stopped inviting me to dinners. A contractor asked whether I had ever locked Leah inside the house. One potential client withdrew after an anonymous email quoted the affidavit. I answered every question with the same sentence. The divorce is private. Privacy sounded dignified. From the outside, it sounded like confirmation. "Nolan?" Maya's voice brought me back to the ballroom. Only 7 people remained. Maya, Thomas, Camille, Leah, my mother, the second board director, and me. Hotel staff had begun clearing untouched plates around us. Maya held out her hand. "Your company phone." I gave it to her. Camille folded the prepared statement and slipped it into her purse. "That document stays," Maya said. "It concerns my relationship." Paragraph 7. Concerns corporate authority. Camille placed the pages back on the table. Her movements were controlled, but the fold had left a sharp line through my printed name. Thomas rubbed both hands over his face. "Until we know what happened, Nolan and Camille are suspended from all financial systems." "You cannot suspend me," Camille said. "I reported misconduct. I can suspend anyone with access." She turned to me, waiting. For 2 years, I had stepped between Camille and every room that doubted her. I had defended her promotion, her compensation, and her place on the executive team. The old instinct urged me to do it again, not because I believed her, but because watching someone stand alone still felt like cruelty. "Thomas is right," I said. Camille's composure cracked at the edges. "That's all? What would you like me to say? That this recording is absurd? That Leah has always known how to make you feel guilty? That I was trying to protect myself?" Leah picked up the damp envelope. "You weren't protecting yourself when you offered to clear Owen's debt." My mother's chair shifted against the floor. Leah closed her eyes briefly. "Not here. You brought it here," Camille said. That landed because it was true. Leah had arrived with evidence. But she had also arrived with 6 years of decisions she had never explained. The recorder did not make her innocent. It only made Camille less careful than she believed. I took my coat from the back of my chair. "Nolan?" my mother said. "Where are you going?" "Home." Camille gave a brittle laugh. "Which home? The one we share?" The question exposed another problem. Her clothes were in my closet. Her name was on the wedding contracts. Half the engagement gifts had already been delivered to my house. Leah's fingers tightened around the envelope. I could have asked what was inside. I could have asked her to follow me, explain the recording, or tell me why she had waited until my engagement dinner. Instead, I faced Maya. "Send me whatever the board needs." Thomas stopped me near the doors. "Do not contact staff tonight. Do not access company files. And Nolan, don't make a public statement." I wasn't planning to. That used to be your answer to everything. He returned my building pass long enough to close my fingers around it, then took it back. Outside, rain glazed the hotel steps. I had reached the curb when phones began vibrating inside the ballroom. one after another. Maya opened the door behind me. Nolan. Her voice carried the flat urgency she used when bad news had already become permanent. Camille had sent a statement to every employee, client, and board member before her access was suspended. The subject line contained 5 words. Why I am afraid of Nolan. Camille's email reached 73 employees before I reached my car. Maya forwarded it to me with one instruction. Do not respond. I stood beneath the hotel awning and read it anyway. Camille described a 2-year pattern of financial control, intimidation, and retaliation. She referred to Leah's divorce affidavit without naming her and called the engagement dinner a private intervention that became unsafe. There was no mention of the confession she had asked me to sign, no mention of the recorder, no mention of the transfer scheduled under my name. By the time I reached the final paragraph, 3 employees had sent messages asking whether they should report to work in the morning. A 4th asked whether payroll was safe. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could answer that question. I could tell them I had never authorized the transfer and that Camille's access to client deposits had been broader than mine for 18 months. Instead, I locked the phone. Silence had already failed me once. But speaking before we knew what the records showed could turn every accurate sentence into interference. Maya called 10 minutes later. Come to my office, she said. Use the rear entrance. Her firm occupied the 4th floor of a brick building near the hotel. Leah was already in the conference room when I arrived. Her wet coat hung over a chair. The silver recorder sat inside a clear evidence bag between her and Maya. Thomas stood at the window, with his jacket unbuttoned. No one offered coffee. Maya pointed to the chair across from Leah. Before we listen, I need both of you to understand something. A recording can reveal intent. It can also become useless if its origin, handling, or completeness is challenged. It hasn't been altered, Leah said. That is not the same as proving it. Maya placed a legal pad beside the evidence bag. When did you record Camille? 18 days ago. The number settled between us. I turned toward Leah. You had this for 18 days? She kept her hands beneath the table. Yes. And you waited until tonight. Yes. Maya interrupted before I could ask the next question. Where did the conversation occur? My apartment. Did Camille know she was being recorded? No. Maya nodded once. State law allows one-party consent. That helps. It does not solve chain of custody. She connected the recorder to an isolated laptop and copied the file while Thomas documented each step. The progress bar moved slowly across the screen. 41 minutes and 8 seconds. Leah stared at the table. The recording began with the scrape of a chair and Camille declining tea. For several minutes, they spoke about Owen as if he were a problem neither wanted to name directly. Then Camille's voice sharpened. The remaining balance is $32,000. Leah answered, I know what he owes. I can make it disappear. Why would you? Because Nolan is doing it again. Fabric shifted near the recorder. Leah must have leaned forward. Doing what? Restricting access. Questioning ordinary expenses. Making me prove where I've been. I watched the audio line move across Maya's screen. Camille had never needed to prove where she had been. I had asked why 3 vendor payments carried duplicate project codes. I had asked in my office, during business hours, with our controller present. On the recording, Leah said, That isn't what happened with us. Camille paused. Your affidavit says otherwise. My affidavit says I was afraid of what would happen if I left. People understood what you meant. People assumed, and Nolan let them. That sentence struck cleanly because it contained truth. I had let them, Camille continued. You don't have to invent anything. Say the same words. Tell the board he controls money when he feels threatened. Tell them the pattern has started again. And Owen's debt? Handled. Maya stopped the audio. Handled by whom? She asked. Leah reached for the damp envelope she had carried from the ballroom. She slid it across the table to me. Open it. Inside was a copy of Owen's repayment agreement with Pierce Restoration, signed after the divorce. $32,000 remained outstanding. Behind it sat a 1-page letter printed on company stationery. The letter released Owen from the balance in exchange for consulting information related to legacy vendor practices. My signature appeared at the bottom. It was close. The capital N leaned correctly. The final stroke in Pierce rose the way mine did when I signed quickly. But the date was written in European order day before month. I never wrote dates that way. Thomas bent over my shoulder. Who had access to your signature file? Executive Administration. Legal. Communications for approved letters. Camille led communications. Maya photographed both pages and resumed the recording. Camille and Leah argued for 11 minutes. Leah accused her of using Owen. Camille accused Leah of protecting Nolan after helping create the very reputation Camille now feared. Then, Leah said something I had not expected. He froze the account because Owen stole payroll money. The conference room seemed to narrow. On the recording, Camille asked, "Then why did you sign it?" Leah's answer came after a long breath. "Because I wanted Nolan to be the one who lost something." Maya did not stop the file. Neither did I. The words did not shock me. Some part of me had known them for 6 years. Hearing Leah give them shape was different. Anger I had carefully renamed grief returned with all its original weight. Across the table, she finally lifted her eyes. "I was going to tell you." "When?" Her mouth opened, then closed. The recording answered for her. Camille said, "Good. Then you understand that truth is less useful than timing." The conversation shifted to the engagement dinner. Camille described the guest list, the board members who would attend, and the statement she planned to put in front of me. "He'll read it," she said. Thomas lowered himself into the chair beside me. Camille then mentioned Northline Materials. The name meant nothing to Leah. It meant something to me. Northline had supplied reclaimed steel for 3 restoration projects. Its invoices were always just below the threshold, requiring a second executive approval. I had questioned those invoices 9 days earlier. Maya opened the vendor registry on her secure system. Northline's mailing address belonged to a commercial forwarding service. Its tax identification number had been entered only 14 months earlier, despite company records describing it as a 10-year supplier. Thomas leaned closer to the screen. "Who approved the vendor?" The authorization field displayed my name. The digital certificate beneath it did not match mine. Maya exported the record and compared its timestamp with the building's access logs. Northline had been approved at 9:42 p.m. on a Sunday. At that hour, I had been in St. Louis, presenting a preservation award. Photographs placed me on stage in front of 400 people. "That clears you on the vendor setup?" Thomas said. "It clears one action," Maya corrected. "Not the accounts." She searched Northline's payment history. 14 invoices appeared. The first 13 totaled just under $300,000. The 14th was the transfer scheduled for midnight. Its amount was $840,000. Thomas swore under his breath. The authorization used my credentials. The destination account had been changed that afternoon. Maya enlarged the modification log. A secondary approval token had been issued from a device registered to Camille's department, but the employee identification attached to it belonged to someone who had left the company 7 months earlier. "Can we stop it?" I asked. "The bank is trying." My phone vibrated against the table. An unknown number had sent a photograph. It showed a laptop open to Pierce Restoration's vendor system. Beside it lay an employee access card and a handwritten list of transfer codes. The message beneath the image contained one sentence. "Ask Leah who gave Camille the first signature." I turned the screen toward her. The color left her face. Thomas asked, "What does that mean?" Leah did not answer him. She reached for the recorder, then stopped before touching the evidence bag. "Nolan," she said, "the affidavit wasn't the first document I signed for her." Leah did not explain the first document. Maya's phone rang before I could make her. The bank had stopped the transfer at 11:53 p.m. 7 minutes before $840,000 would have left the reserve account. The money was safe for the moment. Every account connected to Northline Materials was now frozen, including the operating account that covered Monday payroll. Thomas ended the meeting at 2. "We reconvene at 9, he said. "Board, council, department heads, and the affected clients." Leah remained seated as I walked out. The sealed envelope lay open beside her. The silver recorder stayed inside its evidence bag. She had brought both objects to change what people believed about me. Yet the last thing I carried from that office was another sentence she had not finished. By 8:30, news vans were parked outside Pierce Restoration. Camille's email had been forwarded beyond the company. Someone had paired it with a photograph from the engagement dinner. My hand over the recorder, Camille recoiling, Leah standing beside me. The caption read, "Local CEO confronted by fiancé and ex-wife." Maya led me through the loading entrance. My building pass no longer opened the interior door, so a security guard I had hired 9 years earlier let us inside. He avoided my eyes. The emergency meeting was held in the fabrication shop because the conference room could not seat everyone. Folding chairs faced a temporary screen. 40 employees stood along the walls. 2 clients joined by video. Thomas and the other directors sat behind a workbench, cleared of tools. Camille was already there. She wore a navy suit instead of the dress from the night before. Her hair was tied back. A pale bruise marked her wrist. I had never put it there. She noticed me seeing it and pulled down her sleeve. That movement traveled through the shop faster than any accusation. Maya leaned close. Do not react. Camille took the microphone. I asked for this meeting because silence protects the person with the most power. Several employees nodded. She described the engagement dinner as an intervention. According to her, I had tried to seize the recorder after hearing evidence of my own behavior. She said Leah and I had communicated secretly and that the financial investigation began only after she challenged me. Each claim bent something true without breaking it completely. Then she used the word, Nolan is dangerous when he believes he is losing control. A metal chair creaked near the paint booth. Maya wrote the word on her legal pad and underlined it once. Camille continued. Dangerous does not always mean physical violence. Sometimes it means controlling the story, the money, and whether other people feel safe enough to disagree. Aaron Cole, our project manager, raised his hand. Did Nolan threaten you? Camille lowered the microphone. He never needed to. The answer was almost elegant. It gave everyone permission to imagine the threat that suited them best. Thomas called for questions to wait until both sides had spoken. Camille stepped away from the microphone but remained where every camera could see her. Maya had prepared a narrow statement for me. The bank stopped an unauthorized transfer. I am cooperating with the review. I will not discuss personal allegations while facts are being verified. I unfolded the page. Someone near the back whispered, That sounds like a lawyer wrote it. He was right. I began reading anyway. Last night, an unauthorized transfer. Camille's sleeve slipped as she crossed her arms. One of the clients on the screen interrupted. Before we discuss money, did you cause that injury? Every face turned toward me. The old response arrived with terrifying ease. I'm sorry Camille was hurt. I'm sorry anything I did made her feel unsafe. I'm sorry this company has been placed in this position. The first sentence reached my tongue. Then I remembered Leah's question. What exactly are you apologizing for? I lowered Maya's statement. No, I said. I did not cause that bruise. Camille looked down at her wrist. I never said you did. You displayed it while calling me dangerous. I pulled down my sleeve. After making sure I saw it, Thomas struck the workbench with his palm. Enough. The shop fell quiet, but the damage had already chosen a shape. Aaron stood again. He had worked beside me for 14 years. Leah's affidavit, he said. Is it real? Yes. Did she say she was afraid to leave you? She said she was afraid of what would happen if she left. Camille gave a tired smile. There it is. He always corrects the smallest words so he never has to answer the larger truth. Aaron did not sit. What larger truth? Camille turned toward the side entrance. Leah stood there with the damp envelope beneath one arm. Maya swore quietly. I had not asked Leah to come. Judging by Thomas's expression, neither had he. Camille raised the microphone. Ask her. Employees shifted to make a path, placing Leah in the center of a room full of people who already believed she had come to confirm one of 2 stories. She stopped beside me. The affidavit was real, she said. Camille's shoulders relaxed. Leah continued. So was the recording you heard last night. Did Nolan control your money? Camille asked. Maya stepped forward. Leah, do not answer without counsel. She doesn't need a lawyer to tell the truth, Camille said. It was a trap with exits that all led to the same place. If Leah explained Owen's theft, she would expose her brother publicly and appear to be changing her story to protect me. If she refused, Camille could treat her silence as confirmation. If she mentioned the forged release, the financial investigation could be compromised. Leah gripped the envelope until its corner bent. Nolan froze a shared account without speaking to me first. The words hurt because they were true. Camille faced the employees. Thank you. I wasn't finished. You answered the question. Leah's jaw tightened. She wanted to say more. Maya moved between her and the microphone. Not here. Someone's phone chimed. Then another. Camille had distributed Leah's original affidavit through an employee message board while Leah was still standing beside me. Aaron read the sentence aloud. I was afraid of what would happen if I left Nolan. No one spoke afterward. The sentence sounded worse in another man's voice. Thomas called a recess, but the two clients refused to wait. One suspended a $6 million courthouse project pending investigation. The other requested removal of my name from all active contracts. Our operations director asked whether employees should continue reporting to me. No, Thomas said. He did not consult the rest of the board. Camille lowered her head as if the decision saddened her. I folded Maya's unused statement along its center. The transfer used my name, I said. The vendor authorization used my name. Now this accusation is being used to prevent me from examining either one. Thomas's mouth tightened. And that will be investigated. By whom? Independent counsel. While Camille keeps speaking for the company, Camille lifted her chin. From our employee system, for a moment, irritation broke through her practiced fear. Because you built a company where everything belongs to you. The sentence struck several people as brave. I saw it in their faces. Thomas asked security to escort me from the property until the board completed its review. The guard approached slowly. His name was Luis Mendoza. I knew his wife's surgery date and the university his daughter hoped to attend. That morning, he addressed me as Mr. Pierce. Leah stepped forward. If he leaves, I leave? Maya caught her arm. That will look exactly the way Camille wants it to look. Leah stopped. She could not defend me without becoming evidence against me. I walked through the shop alone. Employees moved aside. Some looked embarrassed. Others watched carefully, as if calmness itself might be another form of manipulation. At the glass entrance, Luis removed the temporary founder's plaque displaying my photograph and company history. Board instruction, he said. I nodded. Outside, reporters called my name from behind the barricade. Before the door closed, I heard Camille tell the employees that Pierce Restoration would remain a safe place. Then my photograph disappeared beneath Luis's arm. I did not go home. Camille still had a key. Maya told me to stay somewhere neutral until she arranged access to the house. The only place I could think of was the office above our original workshop. Pierce Restoration had stopped using it 12 years earlier. Upstairs, a room contained a desk, a couch, and a sink that coughed brown water before running clear. I locked the street door and turned off my phone. I stood beside the dusty window with my coat still on. Across the alley, an old mural remained visible beneath gray paint. A knock came from downstairs. 3 measured taps. I waited. Nolan, Leah called. Maya told me where you were. That irritated me almost as much as the fact that I opened the door. Leah held a paper bag and 2 bottles of water. She had changed out of her wet coat. I didn't ask you to come. No. Then why are you here? She lifted the bag. You haven't eaten. That isn't an answer. It's the only one I thought you might accept. I stepped aside. Upstairs, she removed 2 sandwiches, aspirin, and a black coffee with no sugar. 6 years had passed. She still remembered my order. I hated that the detail reached me. Leah unwrapped 1 sandwich, placed it near my hand, then sat on the floor. She left the only chair for me. I remained standing. What was the first document? I asked. Her fingers pressed a crease into the paper bag. A character statement for Owen. For court? For the company's insurer. After you found the theft. What did you write? That he had access to your electronic signature because you trusted him with administrative work? He never had access. I know. Dust moved through the bar of light between us. Why? His lawyer said it might make the transfers look like negligence. Mom had borrowed against her house again. And I believed every frightened thing Owen told me. Where does Camille enter that story? Leah rubbed both palms over her knees. She didn't. Not then. But she got the statement. Owen kept a copy. Camille found it when she approached him about the repayment balance. I sat because my legs had begun to shake. So she had a document saying my signature could be accessed by someone else. Yes. A document you knew was false. Yes. Leah reached into her bag and placed a folded sheet on the desk. It was a copy of the character statement, bearing her signature beneath 2 paragraphs of careful lies. I gave the original to Maya this morning. After keeping it 6 years. After pretending I'd lost it. Her honesty did not feel generous. It felt late. The statement did not accuse me directly. It created enough uncertainty for someone else to build on. The same method as the affidavit. I read her signature twice. The second time, I noticed the date. She had written the statement 4 days before filing for divorce. You were already preparing to leave. I was preparing to protect Owen. At my expense. Yes. She did not soften the answer. That helped less than she probably intended. You were good at this, I said. She flinched. At what? Writing half a sentence and letting everyone else do the damage? Yes. No defense. No request that I understand. That made anger harder to hold cleanly. It did not make trust easier. It only removed the excuse of pretending she had misunderstood what she was doing. Why did you wait 18 days to give us the recording? Leah studied the floorboards. At first, I was afraid Camille would stop helping Owen, but that wasn't all. Part of me wanted the debt gone. Part of me wanted to protect him, and part of me wanted Camille to confirm that what happened to us wasn't only my fault. I set the statement down. It wasn't only your fault. I know. I froze the account. I made a decision that affected you and called it protection because I had the better spreadsheet. You were protecting payroll. I was also punishing you before you had chosen a side. The admission changed the air between us. Leah wet a cloth at the sink and wiped dust from the desk near my wrist. It was a small, unnecessary act. She did not tell me to calm down or insist that eating would make anything better. I opened the sandwich. She sat on the couch this time, leaving the space beside her empty. There's more, she said. There always is. I didn't stay silent only because of Owen. I waited. When people believed you were dangerous, I could have said, you never threatened me without exposing Owen. But you didn't. No. Why? Her mouth tightened before the answer came. Because you looked untouched. I almost laughed. She continued before I could. Your company grew while I lived in my mother's spare room trying to explain why my marriage had ended. I wanted the story to leave a mark on you. It did. I know that now. You knew it then? The correction landed. She nodded. Yes, I knew enough. Leah removed a battery from her pocket and rolled it between her fingers. The recorder died twice while Camille was at my apartment, she said. I changed the battery under the table. That's why the file has gaps. Camille knew there was a missing section. She heard the click. I think she suspected. What happened during the gap? Leah stopped rolling the battery. She asked whether I still loved you. My hand stayed around the coffee cup. Outside, a truck passed through the alley. Its headlights moved across the ceiling and vanished, leaving us with the weak lamp over the desk. What did you say? I told her it was none of her business. That wasn't my question. She looked directly at me. I said yes. The space was too small for that answer. 6 years pressed into the distance between the chair and the couch. Leah placed the battery on the cushion and stood. I shouldn't have told you. You shouldn't have waited 6 years. Pain crossed her face. But she did not turn away. I rose. Her hand lifted, stopped near my coat, then fell. I wanted to cross the distance between us. The wanting frightened me more than Camille's accusation. Not tonight, I said. Leah's breath caught. I wasn't asking. Yes, you were. She accepted that without anger. Then my answer is the same. I stepped back. I am not leaving Camille because you came back, and I am not turning you into the reason I survive what happens next. Leah picked up her coat. If there is ever an us again, I said, it cannot begin with me needing you to save me. She held the coat against her chest. Then don't forgive me tonight. At the stairs, she paused. Eat the other half before the coffee gets cold. The street door closed below. I returned to the desk and found the spare battery on the couch. Beneath it, Leah had left a handwritten address. Northline Materials was registered to a forwarding service. The address she had written belonged to Owen. Owen's address did not prove he owned Northline Materials. It proved Leah knew where the trail led. I photographed the note and sent it to Maya. Her response came before sunrise. Do not go there. 10 minutes later, she called. Independent counsel is tracing the account, she said. If you confront Owen, Camille will call it intimidation. Leah left the address without explaining it. Then let her explain it to me. I watched daylight collect against the workshop window. My phone showed 17 missed calls, most from reporters. 2 were from my mother. 4 were from Camille. I need clothes, I said. I arranged access to the house at 10. I'll meet you there. Camille was waiting in the driveway when we arrived. She wore jeans, a cream coat, and the expression she used when she wanted an argument to look like reconciliation. A news photographer sat in a car across the street. Maya noticed him too. "We have 20 minutes," she said. Camille held out my house key. "You could have come home last night. Not with the accusation you made. I told the truth about how you make people feel. You tried to make me accept responsibility for accounts I never controlled." Her eyes moved toward Maya. "Are we conducting our breakup through counsel? We're ending the engagement with a witness present." Camille's hand closed around the key. For a moment, she looked less frightened than offended. "Because Leah came back?" "No." The answer came without effort. "I'm ending it because you lied. Because you used my history to force my signature onto something false. Leah has nothing to do with that decision. She has everything to do with it." "She doesn't." Camille stepped closer. "You spent one night with her, and now you trust her?" "I don't trust her." That stopped her. Leah told the truth about some things and lied about others. I can hold both facts at once. I should have done the same with you. Maya extended her palm. "The key." Camille dropped it there. Inside, half the engagement gifts filled the dining room. White boxes covered the table where Camille and I had chosen wedding invitations 3 weeks earlier. A framed photograph from our engagement shoot stood on the mantel. I took one suitcase upstairs. Camille followed until Maya blocked the staircase. "He has 20 minutes. This is my home too." "Then remain downstairs?" In the bedroom, Camille's dresses occupied half the closet. I packed shirts, work boots, medication, and the watch my father had left me. My laptop was gone. So was the external drive containing archived vendor contracts? I called down to Maya. Camille answered first. "The board collected company property." Maya appeared in the doorway. "The board has no record of either item." Camille folded her arms. "Then Nolan must have moved them." The accusation was small compared with the others, but its ease frightened me. I closed the suitcase. "Send the laptop and drive to Maya by noon." "Or what?" The familiar urge to soften my voice returned. I let it pass. "Or we report them missing." Downstairs, I removed my engagement ring and placed it beside our photograph. Camille stared at it. "You are throwing away 2 years because your ex-wife brought a recording." "No, I'm leaving because of what you did. And when Leah disappoints you again, that will be between Leah and me." The photographer raised his camera as I carried the suitcase outside. Camille began crying before the first shutter clicked. By noon, Maya had moved me into the room above the workshop under a temporary occupancy agreement. The plumbing worked. The heater did not. My suitcase remained unopened beside the couch. My mother called while I was trying to start the heater. "Tell me one thing," she said. "Did you leave Camille for Leah?" "No, but Leah was with you last night." The speed of the rumor told me the photograph already existed somewhere. "She brought food and evidence, then she left." "Do you still love her?" I pressed the heater switch again. Nothing happened. That cannot be the reason I decide what is true about Camille. My mother was quiet. "I don't know what to tell people." "Tell them you don't know yet." It was the first honest answer any of us had been allowed. Thomas called to confirm that my suspension now covered all company systems, buildings, employees, and client communications. My corporate health insurance would continue. My salary would not. "The company needs distance," he said. "The company needs payroll. The operating account remains frozen. 73 employees would be paid in 5 days. I had enough personal savings to cover one payroll cycle, but transferring the money could look like an attempt to buy loyalty." Maya suggested a documented emergency loan approved by the board. Thomas refused. "If we accept your money," he said, "Camille will argue you still control the company. For the first time since starting Pierce Restoration, I could protect payroll only by staying away from it." At 2, Maya returned with a bank investigator and a disclosure form. Reporting the Northline transactions would trigger a formal fraud review. The bank could freeze additional accounts, notify insurers, and delay every active project. Our courthouse client might terminate its contract. Employees could lose work even if the report cleared my name. The form waited between us. "The board wants 48 hours, Maya said. "Why?" "To move payroll funds and prepare clients." "Is that legal?" "Moving ordinary payroll is legal. Moving it after we know fraud may have touched the account creates questions." "What do you recommend?" "As company counsel, I recommend protecting the organization." "And as my lawyer?" "I'm not your lawyer." That distinction cost more than my salary. The investigator turned the form toward me. "If you report now, there is no quiet version afterward." I thought of Luis carrying my photograph away, Aaron reading Leah's affidavit, employees asking whether they should come to work. Waiting might protect them. It would also give whoever controlled Northline 48 hours to erase what remained. I signed. The investigator took the form and left. Maya stayed by the door. You understand the board may say you acted against the company. The company is already being used as cover. My phone vibrated. Camille had posted a photograph of my ring beside our engagement portrait. Her caption read, "He chose her before the truth was even known." Thousands of people would believe it before dinner. I did not answer. Instead, I sent Maya one written instruction. Preserve every account. Include mine. She read it twice. You know they'll examine everything. That's the point. My last personal account was frozen 40 minutes later. That evening, I ate the second sandwich Leah had left while wearing my coat inside the unheated room. At 8:16, an unknown number sent me two photographs. The first showed Leah entering the workshop the night before. The second showed me opening the door. The message beneath them was short. Tell your ex-wife the next photos go to the press. The photographs reached the press before Leah answered my call. At 8:31, a local site published both images beneath the headline, "Disgraced CEO spent night with ex-wife after public breakup." The article claimed Leah and I had been secretly involved for months. Camille's statement appeared beneath it. I now understand that the intervention was staged to remove me from Nolan's life and his company. She did not explain how an intervention she had organized could also have been staged against her. That contradiction did not slow anyone down. By 9, employees were sharing screenshots. One client accused me of manufacturing the Northline investigation to justify leaving Camille. The courthouse project terminated its contract. Aaron sent me a message before blocking my number. I defended you yesterday. I won't help you turn two women against each other today. Attached was a petition signed by 26 employees asking the board to remove me permanently. Luis's name appeared near the bottom. I started typing an explanation. Leah had stayed less than an hour. Nothing had happened. Camille had arranged the dinner and the statement. Every sentence sounded like a man demanding that frightened people accept his version. I deleted the message. Maya arrived at the workshop carrying a printer box. Turn off your phone. The story is already everywhere. That is why you need to stop reading it. She placed 3 documents on the desk. The first was the contract termination. The second notified us that the insurer had opened a fraud inquiry. The third was a public response drafted by the board. I regret the pain my personal decisions have caused. I accept responsibility for creating an environment in which professional and personal boundaries became unclear. The language was familiar, true enough to sound honest, vague enough to become anything. Paragraph 4 went further. It said I had failed to disclose material personal relationships affecting financial oversight. Leah's name did not appear. It did not need to. Thomas wants me to sign this. He wants the company separated from you before noon. It makes the photographs look like proof. It may save the remaining contracts. Someone struck the street door downstairs. Not a knock, a fist. Maya looked toward the stairs. Are you expecting Leah? No. The pounding came again. Owen Bennett stood outside in a gray sweatshirt, breathing hard. 6 years had added weight to his face, but none to his ability to look wronged. You need to call off the investigators, he said. Maya stepped between us. You need counsel. I need my sister to stop pretending she did this for him. He pushed past the doorway before I could close it. Upstairs, Owen saw the board statement. Sign it, he said. You always do. The words sounded too close to Camille's recording. How much did she pay you? I asked. She didn't. Then why is Northline registered to your address? His eyes shifted toward Maya. It isn't my company. That wasn't the question. Owen rubbed both hands over his face. Camille asked if she could receive business mail there. She said reporters were watching her house. When? 8 months ago. Northline had existed for 14. Maya wrote down the answer. Owen noticed and stood. I'm not the criminal here. You stole $48,000, I said, and paid most of it back. After Leah helped make it look as though my negligence gave you access. His mouth tightened. She told you. Not soon enough. She never tells anything soon enough. Leah's voice came from the stairs. Neither do you. She entered without looking at me. Owen's anger collapsed into something younger. You released the recording, he said. Yes. Camille was going to clear the debt. With Nolan's money. You don't know that. Leah placed her phone on the desk. A message from Camille filled the screen. You had 18 days to decide. Don't pretend this was courage. Owen read it and laughed once. She's right. Leah's face hardened. He turned to me. Ask her why she waited. She told me. Did she tell you she warned me first? Leah closed her eyes. The workshop seemed colder. Warned you about what? I asked. Owen answered for her. That Camille was using Northline. Leah gave me 4 days to remove my address before she went to Maya. Maya set down her pen. Is that true? Leah did not reach for an excuse. Yes. The answer reopened every distance from the night before. You gave him time to alter evidence, I said. I asked him to tell me the truth. That is not the same thing. I know. Owen pointed toward the public statement. This is what she does. She lets you take the fall while she decides which truth costs her least. Leah flinched, but she did not deny it. My phone vibrated again despite Maya's instruction. Thomas had sent one sentence. Sign by 10, or the board will remove you permanently. 37 minutes remained. If I refused, the company might lose the contracts that kept the fabrication crew employed. If I signed, Camille could use my words as an admission that Leah and I had crossed a line before the engagement ended. My mother called while I held the paper. I let it ring twice, then answered. They're saying Leah was there all night, she said. She wasn't. Can you prove that? The question left me with the old choice. Explain until I sounded controlling, or stay quiet until silence became guilt. Not yet, I said. Then maybe you should sign whatever keeps the company alive. After the call ended, the pen felt heavier. Owen moved toward the stairs. Maya stopped him. You can't hold me here. No. But the investigators waiting outside can ask why a vendor received mail at your apartment. The fight went out of him. Leah sat on the edge of the couch, hands clasped between her knees. That almost made it worse. I picked up the board statement. The first line required only a signature to become true in everyone else's mind. I uncapped Maya's pen. Leah stood. I won't tell you not to sign. Why not? Because 73 people should not have to pay for what we did. There it was again. We. A word broad enough to spread guilt across everyone except the person directing it. I pressed the pen to the page. Maya's phone chimed. She read the message. Camille had written to Thomas, if Nolan signs, make sure paragraph 4 stays in. It proves he knew about the second Northline account. Maya scrolled upward. Thomas had never mentioned a second account. Neither had the bank investigator. The existence of it had been discovered 20 minutes earlier and disclosed only to Maya. Owen stared at the screen. What second account? Leah looked at her brother, then at me. Camille's message continued. He'll claim he didn't know. Don't let him change the story again. I lifted the pen from the paper without signing. Maya photographed the message and called the investigator. Owen backed toward the wall. I only let her use the address. Then who opened the second account? Maya asked. His face answered before he did. Leah rose. But I held up one hand. Not to silence her. To stop her from standing between Owen and the truth again. Owen did not answer Maya's question until an investigator arrived. Then he asked for a lawyer. Investigators recovered my missing laptop and external drive from a locked cabinet in Camille's office. A prepaid phone found beside them had sent the anonymous photographs and threats. By noon, the bank had linked the second Northline account to an identification scan. Owen submitted 8 months earlier. He claimed Camille had told him the account would hold consulting payments until his debt was cleared. The records showed something else. Money entered through Northline invoices, moved through Owen's account, then returned to an account controlled by a trust bearing Camille's mother's name. Owen had kept $12,000. The rest had gone back to Camille. Independent counsel scheduled a final board hearing for 4 that afternoon. Thomas allowed me to attend by video from Maya's office. Camille appeared from the company conference room with her own attorney. 2 directors sat beside Thomas. The bank investigator, our insurer, and 3 remaining clients joined remotely. Leah was not there. She had given Maya her documents and left before lunch. Her last message contained 6 words. This part has to be yours. Maya placed the unsigned public statement beside my laptop. You have one chance, she said. Do not turn this into a trial of Camille's character. She made it a trial of mine. Then talk about facts and choices, including yours. Thomas opened the hearing by announcing that neither Camille nor I represented Pierce Restoration during the review. Camille's attorney spoke first. He did not deny the North Line transfers. He described them as an internal fund created to investigate financial misconduct without alerting me. Owen, he said, had acted as a confidential source because he knew how I controlled vendor approvals. According to Camille, the hidden account was not theft. It was protection. Protection from what? Thomas asked. Camille leaned toward the camera. From Nolan. She said my habit of overriding others had grown worse after I discovered the duplicate project codes. She claimed I had begun preparing to blame her and that Northline preserved money she feared I would move. The bank investigator interrupted. You preserved it by transferring it to a family trust? Temporarily. Without notifying the board? The board was loyal to Nolan. Thomas's expression hardened. Camille continued before he could respond. Look at what happened when I spoke. He ended our engagement immediately and spent the night with the woman who helped him discredit me. The photographs appeared on the shared screen. Maya did not object. She let everyone see the timestamps. Leah entered the workshop at 6:42 p.m. She left at 7:37, 55 minutes. The later images Camille had threatened did not exist. Her attorney changed direction. The length of the visit does not establish its nature. Neither does a photograph, I said. Thomas reminded me to wait my turn. Camille gave the camera a weary smile. This is what Nolan does. He corrects details until people forget how unsafe he makes them feel. My turn came 20 minutes later. Maya had prepared a chronology. I closed it. 6 years ago, I froze an account I shared with Leah without warning her. Camille's attorney stopped taking notes. I had a legitimate reason. Her brother had stolen payroll money. But I made the decision alone because I assumed my reason gave me the right to exclude her. No one interrupted. That was controlling. It damaged our marriage, and I refused to admit how much anger was inside the decision. Leah later signed statements that allowed people to believe I had threatened her. Those statements were wrong. My actions do not make them true. Camille shifted in her chair. I continued. I also stayed silent because I believed silence made me dignified. It did not. It made other people responsible for deciding who I was. Thomas glanced at the unsigned statement beside Maya. So, I will not sign a general apology that turns every accusation into one shared mistake. I will name what I did. I will also name what I did not do. I faced the camera. I never threatened Camille or authorized Northline. Neither account carried my approval. Leah came to the engagement dinner, made the recording, and visited the workshop without my request. Camille shook her head. You always need the cleanest version of yourself. No. I needed people to think I was good. That is why I apologized before checking whether I was guilty. Her expression changed. The old Nolan would have defended his goodness. She had prepared for that man. You used that habit, I said. You put false financial authority inside a personal confession because you expected me to sign anything that protected the room from discomfort. Her attorney leaned toward her, but she kept speaking. You controlled every executive decision. Then why did you need my forged authorization? Because you would have denied the transfers. The answer came too quickly. Maya's pen stopped. Camille's attorney touched her sleeve. She pulled away. He questioned every payment, she said. The bank investigator opened a report. Which reserve account? Camille stared at the screen. Northline. Northline had 2 accounts. Which one are you claiming he knew about? Her smile arrived late. The original. The original was a vendor account. It was never classified as a reserve account. Camille looked toward Thomas rather than the investigator. You know what I mean? Thomas did not help her. Maya shared the message Camille had sent him that morning. If Nolan signs, make sure paragraph 4 stays in. It proves he knew about the second Northline account. Camille's attorney requested a private recess. Thomas denied it. Before today, he asked, who told you investigators had found a second account? Owen. The investigator answered immediately. Mr. Bennett did not know about it until Miss Chen displayed your message. Camille's hand moved toward her phone. Her attorney covered it with his own. She pulled free. This is absurd. Nolan knew. He knew because he always knows where the money is. Then why frame the authorization under my name? I asked. I did not frame anything. Why put vendor control in my confession? Because it was true. It wasn't? It would have been once you signed. No one moved. Camille heard her own sentence after everyone else did. Her face emptied. Thomas leaned back from the table. I kept my voice level. You didn't expose who I was. You built someone easier to defeat. Camille turned toward the directors. After everything I protected for this company, we're going to verify everything, Thomas said. You already chose. She stood so quickly her chair struck the wall. He loses control and calls it integrity. Leah lies for 6 years and calls it courage. But I move money to protect myself. And suddenly I'm the criminal? Her attorney told her to stop. She looked directly into the camera. You should have signed when I gave you the chance. The screen went black. Camille had ended the call. Thomas suspended her access to every company account and referred the records to law enforcement. He did not restore me as chief executive. An independent review still has to examine your decisions, he said. It should. One client agreed to pause termination. The others made no promises. Pierce Restoration had survived the hearing. It had not survived unchanged. After everyone disconnected, Maya handed me the unsigned apology. I tore it once through the signature line and left both halves on the table. My phone showed a message from Leah. Did you tell it yourself? I typed, yes. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. She did not ask what happened next. Neither did I. The investigation lasted 4 months. Camille was charged with fraud, forgery, and obstruction. Owen accepted a plea agreement after admitting that he had opened the second Northline account and kept part of the money. Neither outcome restored what had disappeared. Pierce Restoration lost the courthouse contract and 21 employees. Thomas remained chairman. Independent counsel cleared me of the Northline transfers but criticized the concentration of authority inside a company carrying my name. I agreed with them. When the board offered to reinstate me as chief executive, I declined. I returned as director of restoration, without control over finance, communications, or vendor approval. Luis apologized while replacing my building pass. I signed the petition, he said. I know. I should have waited. So should I. In other ways, he looked relieved when I did not ask for more. Aaron never apologized. He worked with me when projects required it and kept every conversation professional. My mother stopped asking whether Leah and I would reunite, but she still changed the subject whenever Camille's name appeared in the news. Some wounds did not close. People simply learned where not to press. Leah gave investigators every document she had hidden. Her statement to the insurer became part of Owen's case. She accepted responsibility for making my signature easier to misuse and publicly corrected the implication in her divorce affidavit. The correction appeared on page 6 of the local paper. The original accusation had been on the front page. We did not speak for 3 weeks after the hearing. Then she sent a message. I found something that belongs to you. She arrived at the workshop on a Saturday morning carrying the silver recorder in a clear evidence bag. The police had released it after copying the file. Black tape still covered the battery door. It belongs to you, I said. Not anymore. She placed it on the workbench between us. The last time it had sat between us, 38 people had been waiting for it to decide which woman they should believe. Now the workshop was empty, except for rain against the high windows. Did you listen again? I asked. Once. Why? To make sure I remembered what courage sounded like when it arrived late, I removed the recorder from the bag. That sounds rehearsed. I had 3 weeks. Her smile was brief and tired. I opened the battery compartment. 1 battery remained inside. The spare she had left on the couch was still in my desk upstairs. I removed the battery and placed it beside the recorder. Are you deleting the file? Leah asked. No. The recording was evidence. It was also a reminder that proof could expose a lie without repairing the people who had lived inside it. I put the recorder in the bottom drawer of the workbench. Not displayed, not destroyed. Leah watched me close the drawer. What happens now? Coffee. That's not what I meant. I know. We began with coffee anyway. Not every day. Not even every week. Sometimes, one of us canceled because a conversation had become too difficult. Once, I went 12 days without answering her after she defended Owen during a phone call with her mother. When I finally responded, I did not apologize for needing time. I told her why. She did not ask me to make the answer easier to hear. Leah attended counseling without asking whether it would earn my trust. I learned to say no before resentment turned silence into punishment. Neither of us called that healing. It was work, and some weeks we were bad at it. 6 months after the engagement dinner, we met at a restaurant near the old theater. There were no white flowers, no microphone, no prepared statements. The hostess seated us beside a birthday party. 12 people crowded around the next table, laughing loudly whenever someone opened a gift. The first burst of laughter tightened something beneath my ribs. My hand stopped around the water glass. For an instant, I was back in the fabrication shop with employees studying my face, waiting for calmness to reveal itself as another threat. Leah noticed. She did not ask whether I was all right. She did not tell me nobody was laughing at me. She moved her hand onto the table and left it there, palm down, halfway between us. The choice remained mine. I waited until the next round of laughter ended. Then I placed 2 fingers over hers. Not a promise. Not forgiveness completed. Just an answer neither of us had forced. Outside, rain had begun to fall. Leah opened her umbrella, and we walked toward the theater without deciding whose home we would return to. The recorder remained in the workshop drawer. Some days, I still thought about taking it out, and hearing Camille's voice proved that I had not imagined what happened. I never needed to, but I was not ready to throw it away. Maybe that was what living after a lie looked like, not forgetting the evidence and not building a home around it. Some people do not destroy you by shouting. They do it by writing a version of you that everyone else can believe. And sometimes, the person who helps you survive is not the person who fixes your life. It is the person who finally refuses to repeat the lie and then steps back far enough to let you speak for yourself. If this story stayed with you, tell me in the comments. Have you ever had to reclaim the truth of your own life? And if you want more stories like this, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.